Caitlin Clark had 6 shots attempts. Mind you, she only took 6 or 7 shots attempts and had 20 fucking points. Caitlin Clark looked at like FIBA World Basketball Caitlin Clark. Now, there was people that was criticizing Caitlin Clark for possibly struggling from 3, not finding her shot, not finding her way.
That performance wasn't just a statement. It was a direct response to being ranked 10th on ESPN's list of top WNBA players. Caitlin Clark went into that Amazon Prime matchup against the Dallas Wings and put up numbers that made the critics look foolish. 19 points by halftime, 21 total in just 16 minutes of play. 9 of 10 from the field in the first half alone. But here's what nobody's talking about. The referees completely flipped the script on how they've been calling her games.
They showed up, they showed out, and they called hella fouls against Caitlin Clark. Now, I told y'all, there had to be a shift within these referees, and we synced it on display today. You couldn't even breathe on Caitlin Clark. Foul, 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 foul. And not to mention, there was one point in this game where...
For months, the narrative around Caitlin Clark has been about inconsistent officiating. Defenders could body her, grab her off ball, and nothing got called. She'd drive to the basket and absorb contact that would send other stars to the free throw line, but the whistle stayed silent. Fans tracked it. Analysts pointed it out. Even opposing coaches admitted they were getting away with physical play. Then suddenly, on May 15th against Dallas, everything changed. The officials called 6 fouls against defenders guarding Clark in the first half. 6 touch fouls, reach-ins, body contact that previously went ignored. It was like watching a completely different standard being applied.
Class today, excuse my language, that's how I felt. Raven Johnson is playing so damn good right now. Stephanie White is going to have to somehow figure out a way to implement Caitlin Clark in this lineup some way, somehow. This is how Caitlin Clark ultimately did. She did not play none of the fourth quarter. The Dallas Wings played Paige kind of excessively. Now, granted, the Indiana Fever did lose the game. Aaliyah Boston did not play. Lexi Hall did not play. And that was pretty much it. But overall, Caitlin Clark put on a master clinic today, bro.
Let's put those first half numbers in context. 19 points on 9 of 10 shooting. That's a 90% field goal percentage, 2 of 3 from beyond the arc. And here's the kicker. She only had 2 assists and 1 rebound because she didn't need to facilitate. The Fever's offense was running through her scoring, and Dallas had no answer. Raven Johnson was handling the defensive intensity. KK was providing energy off the bench. But Caitlin Clark was the show, and everyone in that arena knew it. The problem? Indiana still lost this game 95-80. Despite Clark's masterclass, despite the favorable officiating, despite putting on a clinic in the first 24 minutes.
All doubt, whooped ass, and the referees had her back to make sure she put belt to ass to any defender that tried to come in her way. I'm super happy with the WNBA referees, but something I'm not happy with is Stephanie White. I am not happy with the defensive schemes that Stephanie White has been calling. I am not happy with what she has been running, and I damn sure is not happy with Monique Bill.
This is where Stephanie White's coaching decisions become questionable. Caitlin Clark didn't play a single second in the fourth quarter. Not one. Your best player, who just dropped 21 points in 16 minutes, sits the entire final period while your team gets blown out by 15. Now, Olivia Boston didn't play due to a knee contusion. Lexi Hull was out with a shoulder injury. The roster was depleted. But that's exactly when you need your superstar on the floor, not watching from the bench. White's defensive schemes haven't been working either. The Fever are getting carved up on rotations, leaving shooters open and struggling with basic pick-and-roll coverage. These are fundamental issues that a team with championship aspirations cannot afford 3 games into the season.
France. Now, it was a flagrant foul that was occurred, and this is when we knew.
Her second, team's first. Her second.
Now, on this play, it was upgraded to a flagrant foul. Caitlin Clark trying to walk it off. Elena Smith got hit with a flagrant one. So Elena Smith foul Caitlin Clark, bro. Extremely hard. And what's crazy is that Elena Smith was supposed to be coming to the team. So, Elena Smith, let me see if I can pull the play up.
Then there's the Elena Smith flagrant foul. Fourth quarter, Clark trying to navigate through traffic, and Smith catches her with unnecessary contact that gets upgraded to a flagrant one. Watch Clark's reaction. She's trying to walk it off, clearly in pain, but staying composed. Here's what makes this moment significant. Elena Smith was projected as a potential trade target for Indiana before the season. The Fever needed front court depth, Smith needed a change of scenery from Dallas, and the fit made sense on paper. Now, that relationship is probably dead before it started. Smith just committed a flagrant foul on the league's biggest star in a preseason game that doesn't even count in the standings. That's the kind of play that gets remembered when front offices are making personnel decisions in July.
Clark 16-minute performance
last year, as Clark gets by Beckers and gets to the rim.
Yes, it is. Again, a lot of shoes were filled last year.
Catch and shoot, and Clark delivers with a three. Elena Smith struggled to pull it down, and it's Clark who sets sail for the other end.
That fade away, it's hard to guard.
Clark
Look at,
puts on the
watch
brakes.
Caitlin, y'all. Watch Caitlin.
Allen finds Billings, who connects. Clark with 11 first quarter points on a crossover.
Caitlin Clark had 11 points in the first damn quarter, and she made it look easy.
Inside, it's Hines Allen. Plenty of offense here in the first quarter. Billings rolling. Walker Kimbrough, extra pass. Clark, bullseye.
Up to where it's really hard for posts to block it, let alone guards.
Clark looking back door. Oh, where only Mitchell could get it. Has 5 of Indiana's 10 rebounds. And they'll go back door again.
There it is.
Incredible outing for Caitlin Clark, man.
Look at these highlights. The footwork, the shot selection, the confidence. 11 points in the first quarter alone, and she made it look effortless. Fadeaway jumpers over length, pull-up threes in transition, backdoor cuts that Dallas never saw coming. Paige Buchers played 20 minutes and scored 20 points in this game. She's supposed to be the next generational talent, the player who challenges Clark's dominance, and Clark outperformed her in 4 fewer minutes while barely breaking a sweat. The ESPN ranking that put Clark at number 10, it listed Breanna Stewart first, Aja Wilson second, and Sabrina Ionescu third. All deserving players with established track records. But after watching this performance, you have to question whether the rankers were evaluating current ability or just rewarding past accomplishments.
And like I stated, 21 points, 4 assists, 4 or 6 from the field, 2 or 3 from 3. She made 11 out of 13 free throws in only 16 minutes, man. Incredible performance. Somebody said if Raven Johnson can develop a respectable jumper at the pro level, she'll be one of the game's best two-way players, especially paired with Caitlin Clark. From hoop standpoint, that's a great future. Backcourt, Billings and Boston are going to hold it down on the board. Now, just like I stated in the early part of the video, Monique Billings did not look good at all. I think Stephanie White is definitely going to have to reconsider this starting lineup. I believe KK is slowly improving and showing us she deserves to be a starter. I don't want to hear nothing about seeing.
Raven Johnson is forcing her way into the starting lineup conversation, and Stephanie White needs to pay attention. Johnson's defensive intensity is exactly what this team needs, alongside Clark's offensive firepower. She's not going to give you 20 points, but she'll lock down the opposing team's best guard and make winning plays. The comment section was brutal about Johnson before the season started. Fans didn't want her on the roster. They thought she was a wasted pick, a defensive specialist who couldn't shoot well enough to deserve minutes. 3 games in, and those same critics are changing their tune. Meanwhile, Monique Billings is struggling badly. Her defensive rotations are late, her rebounding effort is inconsistent, and she's not providing the veteran presence the young core needs. If KK keeps playing with this kind of energy and production, White has to consider making a lineup change.
Seniority, if KK keep playing at a very high level, which I think he very much is able to do, they really need to think about starting KK in a couple games because she is a monster in the paint. And I feel like it's just they got to figure out a way to get this lineup sorted out. Raven Johnson looked magnificent, coming in defensively, another defensive masterclass, just like I told y'all that she was going to do. But everybody that criticized me, talk shit about me, lost them subscribers. I told y'all Raven Johnson was going to do this. Now watch. There's going to be another week of everybody changing their tune. Oh, Raven this, Raven that. When all these guys hated on that girl and they did not want her on this team. Get down in the comments.
Here's what makes Caitlin Clark's performance even more impressive. This came after a long layoff between the end of college season and the start of WNBA training camp. Most rookies struggle with that transition. The three-point line is farther. The defenders are stronger and more experienced. The pace is faster, and the margin for error is smaller. Clark didn't just adjust. She dominated. 21 points in 16 minutes translates to a 40-point pace over 32 minutes. That's not rookie production. That's MVP-caliber efficiency. But the loss exposes the real issue facing Indiana. They don't have enough talent around Clark to compete with the league's elite teams. Boston and Hull being injured revealed how thin this roster actually is. When your depth chart gets tested and you lose by 15 despite your star going nuclear, that's a roster construction problem. The Fever need to make moves before the trade deadline in August. They need another reliable scorer who can take pressure off Clark. They need defensive versatility in the front court to cover for Billings' limitations. And they need veteran leadership that can execute White's schemes without constant mental mistakes. Watch how Dallas defended Clark in the second half. They started trapping her 30 feet from the basket, forcing the ball out of her hands, and daring Indiana's role players to beat them. And it worked. Because aside from Clark, nobody could consistently create their own shot or punish the aggressive defense. That's the blueprint every team will use against the Fever this season. Trap Clark. Make someone else beat you. Live with the results. Until White figures out how to counter that strategy, Indiana is going to struggle in close games against playoff-caliber opponents. The officiating shift is encouraging for Clark's individual success. If refs are finally going to protect her the way they protect other stars, she's going to average 25 points per game easily. But individual excellence doesn't translate to team success when the supporting cast can't execute. Stephanie White has until June to figure this out. The Fever's schedule gets brutal in the summer, with back-to-backs against Connecticut, Las Vegas, and New York. Those games will reveal whether this team is a legitimate playoff contender or just Caitlin Clark dragging a mediocre roster to respectability. And here's the uncomfortable truth that Fever fans need to accept. If Indiana doesn't surround Clark with better talent, she's going to start looking at other options when her rookie contract expires. Generational players don't waste their prime years on teams that can't get out of the first round. So yes, celebrate the 21 points in 16 minutes, appreciate the masterclass performance against Dallas, but don't ignore the 15-point loss or the systemic issues that losing exposed. Because right now, the gap between Caitlin Clark's individual brilliance and the Fever's collective mediocrity is the story of this season. The question isn't whether Clark can dominate in the WNBA. She just proved she can. The question is whether Indiana's front office and coaching staff can build a championship-caliber team around her before her patience runs out. What do you think? Does Stephanie White have the answers, or is this roster construction fundamentally flawed? Drop your take in the comments.